Greetings YouTube! I'm on a quest to make the greatest Marble Maze game on Steam. Welcome to the first full-length developer log for my upcoming game, DougDevs Marble Maze Project, or DDMMP for short. I have been working on this project since March 2026, and it is currently July 2026. At the beginning of the year, I set a goal to upload one video per month, without any requirements or rubric, just to do it. I uploaded some time-lapse programming and game dev videos, and some game reviews which have since been unlisted. At the beginning of June, I decided to improve my 3D modeling skills and recorded my process for some various objects. These made for decent short-form content, and let me learn the very basics of video editing for engaging content and commentating on my work. I knew I wasn't very good at 3D modeling, but despite that, I still had some success with views, which helped me realize that I can succeed if I keep improving. Since I was feeling more confident in both my video editing skills and how fun my Marble Maze project was turning out to be, I was ready to make some work on the game into video logs. I slowly changed my cadence over time, and I begin to ditch my weird persona that I started with, so you'll notice that.
Greetings, YouTube. Today, I must create an endpoint for my Marble Maze project. I start by opening Blender and creating a cylinder for the base. Next, I duplicate the cylinder and extend it to make the shaft of the flagpole. Next, I add a ball to the top. Or maybe I actually make the flag next. I do not remember. Next, I simply export the object and add it to my Unity project. Next, I position it and delete the light source, I think. And then I move it to the endpoint and make the flag a child of the board so that it will rotate with the board in place. Yeah. Greetings, YouTube. I am now making a follow-up video on the flag from before. First, I add rigid body components to each piece of the flag and freeze their position and rotation on the rigid body component. Next, I add an invisible trigger hitbox to the flagpole. Unfortunately, this was not the right solution. Instead, I modified the previous wind trigger script to add rigid bodies and force to those rigid bodies at runtime. But unfortunately, my previous code is deleting the flag, and I forgot to assign the public game objects, so let me fix that. This function no longer sets the flag inactive, and this code now has slightly improved vectors in varying direction and magnitude. Unfortunately, the parts of the flag did not collide with the board, and the motion was too uniform. I have added colliders to the flag pieces, and adjusted the trajectory and forces once more. Previously, I deleted the flag. Now, I shall also give it physics. Let us proceed with a test. Frick. Nice. This worked, but I want the flag to do something more interesting than just fall down. I turn the flag's gravity off. It now flies up as one would in the event of an alien abduction. Next, I make the parts destroy themselves after a delay. I now test the green flag prefabricated object on level 2. After removing the previous wind trigger from the other boards. Success. I recently added this snake game to my Marble Maze project. First, I add a board to the scene, with the board control script attached. Nice. Next, I follow this tutorial by Unity Dude to end up with this prototype. Next, I begin to spawn in coins, but they can sometimes instantiate beneath the surface. Fixed. Next, I shall create this cube, which will follow the sphere. That's pretty good. And now, I shall make the hole follow the cube, while remaining a child of the board. Next, I make the holes appear on coin pickup and follow in a chain. Needs improvement. A little better. Things are looking good, but the holes can still overlap. Like so. I disable the pipe object comprising the rim of the hole. Looks better. Next, I hastily make this game over screen and game over hitbox. Nice. Next, I work on the button functionality. It's pretty fun to play already. Next, I add a snow particle system over the top of the board. I add this trail to the ball, but I do not like it yet. I now make this fall trigger visible and add a transparent material to it. I now add a particle system and a particle force field to the hole. And raise the walls so that the snow can fall through the sides. Better. I disable the fall trigger for a moment on creation and show this with a light purple material. This visual style closely matches one of my free web games on itch.io. Greetings, YouTube. My Marble Maze project grows stronger with each passing day. Today, I shall make a color change menu for the ball. First, I make a menu with RGB sliders. Next, I apply color to the ball, but something is amiss. The ball has become radioactive. I turn off bloom on the global volume, and now my Geiger counter is silenced. I now apply a plastic material to the ball. Next, I improve the ball color menu and add functionality to the show hide button. I also make other small UI improvements. Next, I must resolve the issue where color is not applied on spawn. I create this coroutine. Nice. Next, I prevent color change from applying to the metal ball by hiding the menu when the steel ball is selected. Next, in Blender, I create two hemispheres for the capsule and add the top to the prefab and color it white. Success. Greetings, YouTube. Today, I shall make this palm tree for my Marble Maze project. First, I make the trunk and bend the tip. Next, I trace the frond and apply texture paint. I place the top fronds manually, but then decide to learn how to apply an array modifier for the bottom fronds. Next, I paint the trunk and fix the shader settings for the transparent gaps between the leaves. Next, I make a coconut and bring the tree into my sandbox scene. Next, I create a trigger around the coconuts, which applies a rigid body to the coconut when touched. I also add the ability to adjust board bump strength in free play mode. Next, I add armature and animate the tree. Greetings, YouTube. It is I, Douglas Developer. Today, I shall improve the aesthetics of my free play scene. First, I duplicate and place additional palm trees. Next, I paint the elevated terrain green with a checkered pattern for Sandbox Vibes. Next, I open Blender and create this gazebo/cabana. Next,
I place the model in the scene. Next, I write some code to allow balls to accumulate underneath the board. Next, I adjust the particles to spawn only when touching the ground or water for the first time, rather than when falling in the hole. Greetings YouTube. Today we shall discuss ball skin. Thank you to everyone who voted in the recent community poll. It seems the FIFA World Cup has inspired my noble audience. First, I follow this great tutorial by Rod DeWeese. Next, I make the model a child of the prefab. Next, I edit the script to allow switching between the Fútbol and the other skin options. Nice. Next, I improve the coconut slightly and add it as an option to the ball skin select menu after knocking it off the palm tree. Comment what ball skin you would like to see added to my Marble Maze project. Sometimes we must take one step backward to find a better future. I start by removing this third-party package from my project. This asset pack has provided motivation during development, but the time has come to create my own decoration. First, I delete the old terrain and make this new one. Next, I paint this terrain texture, but it looks really bad. This one came out much nicer, especially when combined with this other dirt texture for the lower ground. Next, I draw this grass, but then I redraw, thankfully. Next, I model this special rock and export the UV map and draw over it in Clip Studio. Next, I add colliders and this script, which cracks the rock when hit by a fast, downward moving object. First, I configure particles to spawn when the rocks break, but I am unsatisfied. So in Blender, I apply cell fracture and cause the rocks to break apart with rigid bodies. It already feels like the initial backward progress was worth it, but this scene still needs more decoration until I'm fully satisfied. Last time, we went on an emotional journey and completely reset our forest scene. At the end, we ended up with this cool rock that breaks apart. Today, I make this stone ball by first drawing this pilot texture in Blender and import it into Clip Studio, where I begin to iterate on the design. Finally, I apply a black material to this icosphere and scale it into the cracks. Nice. Next, I make it so that the rock ball skin is unlocked when the special rock is completely broken. Next, I make the debris destroy itself after 60 seconds, and while I'm at it, I apply the same script to all of the particles that get instantiated. Next, I get a devious idea and use the stone texture from the ball on the terrain. Lastly, I increase the size of the special rock and reduce the Y velocity required to break it. Last time, I made this flag and made it explode on level completion. Today, I made the flag reassemble itself. Next, I decided to take a swing at painting wooden board textures, but the detail lines don't line up, so I turn on grid mode in Clip Studio to line up the pattern and redraw the details thicker. For the walls, I draw this diagonal pattern with a spray brush, which surprisingly just instantly looks great on the first pass. Next, I try painting a bone texture for Archaeopteryx, but it doesn't come out great. I will likely come back to improve this board later. Next, I apply colored materials to decorate the big D board instead of a texture. My game currently shows coin progress and board completion with emojis, but it is time to replace them with these icons. First, I replace the text button sprite with this palette icon. Next, I configure a panel with a flag image, and coin text, and add it for all levels. This last part took a while, but I finished the day by making it so coin text updates on coin pickup for each level and green flag icons update from gray on level completion. Last time, I made this snake minigame. Today, I made the snake scene load additively and made the necessary adjustments so that one may change their selected ball skin in snake mode. Next, I create a panel to show snake high score both in-game and on the board select menu. Finally, I update the save manager to save and load ball skin selection, ball color preference, rock and coconut unlocks, and snake high score. Today, cat balls. Recently, I saw this comment by Roger Jemmy, and it genuinely brought a tear to my eye that someone would go and play my old, kinda bad, student project. I wanted to do it right, so it took a few attempts. In the end, I added Cat 2, which is fully painted, and Cat 3, which just has an outline, so you can change the color however you like. We do not talk about Cat 1. I am on a quest to make the greatest Marble Maze game on Steam. Today I will improve the Deadball game mode, where gamers must complete all boards in a row without falling. First, I apply the rocky texture to the terrain and make it darker. Next, I iterate on an Inferno-inspired design for the sphere. Next, I extend the Inferno design beyond the sphere UV map and paint it onto the shoreline of the volcanic environment. I add this glowing aura to the sphere to make it appear hotter, but it's not hot enough. I apply a circular fading gradient to the texture, add it to a quad prefab, and create a script that shoots a raycast downward from the ball and spawns the quad above the board. Next, I add a script that makes the trail fade away and disappear, and add rising ember particles to the trail. This sphere is the special ballskin reward for completing Deadball Mode. Finally, I add a real billboard texture for the flame and smoke particles that shoot up from the holes in Deadball Mode. Previously, I made a viewer suggestion into a ball, but it was taking me a while to make these using Blender and Clip Studio. So today, I shall create this ball painter and image loader. Special thank you to Yasser Kula, who maintains this Unity simple file browser package. Creative gamers can now load in custom images, save the UV template to draw over in another program, or draw their own ball skin and apply it to the ball. It also saves between sessions.